The Good Doctor is a Golden Globe nominated series from Emmy-winning showrunner David Shaw. I'm Matt Noble, a Gold Derby, here with Richard Schiff, who plays Dr. Aaron Glassman, the mentor and friend of the Good Doctor himself, played by Freddie Highmore. Richard, what's been your favorite scene with Freddie over the course of the 2 seasons?
Well, Freddie's delightful to work with, albeit he's British. He's a sweet kid, and he's very talented. And I'd say the scene that sticks out for some reason is when he hit me in the lobby of the hospital. So I'm trying to control his behavior, and he hauls off and slaps me across the head. And what strikes me is that in the middle of shooting that scene, he turns to me, as he always does, and says, "This is fun." Which is his catchphrase for every scene we ever do. He's basically checking in with me to make sure I'm okay, and he'll go, "This is fun, right? Well, this is fun." Which I found. I said, "You're in tears and you're smacking me across the head. Where does the word fun come into your vocabulary here?" But that's the way he looks at it. He's a pleasure to work with, I have to say.
What do you find the most fun on The Good Doctor?
Fun's not a word that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Fun's not a word that comes to mind, but the most fun, I think, or the most enjoyable and the most kind of pleasant is when I proposed to Debbie Hunt, not Debbie Hunt, that's a character she played in the movie, to Debbie, what's her last name? In The Good Doctor, played by my wife, Sheila Kelly. So we got to play the proposal scene all over again, and David Shore was kind enough to let me rework that a little bit, which I knew would be much more in tune with what Sheila and Debbie would respond to. So that was fun, and my wife loves whenever I pay attention to her. So when I pay attention to her on camera with that kind of intensity, she was very, very pleased. But it was fun working with her. It was fun having her up in Vancouver where we shoot. And she, from what I understand, she may have a hefty comeback in the next season.
Oh, that's exciting. So what proposal scene was the most fun? The first one with the car or the second one?
Well, the second one was successful.
Yeah, yes.
The first one didn't go so well. So
No.
The second one was more fun for Aaron Glassman. And it was just a very kind of beautiful intensity that Sheila and I brought to that scene, and that was and she's so alive always, but in her acting, and I love working with actors that so much is going on in between the lines and so on. So she epitomizes that, and I adore working with her.
What motivates your character in the show? What do you think's his driver?
His overriding motivation is to look after Sean as a father who I think feels that he failed in overseeing his daughter's well-being in that pretty intense episode in 2004, episode 204, the fourth episode of the second season. You saw post-op, Dr. Glassman had gone into a psychotic episode, saw his deceased daughter, and dealt with the guilt and the pain of that relationship. And I think that feeds deeply and acutely into how he wants to deal with Sean.
What have you found the biggest sort of challenge as an actor approaching this character in this series?
Well, to be perfectly frank, it's not my style of show. Compare this to The West Wing or Counterpart, which we talked about last time, or even Ballers, which is just a blast, or Manhattan. these other characters that exist in worlds that are intensely interesting to me. The hospital is not an intensely interesting place for me in particular. I tried to avoid them with all my effort. I spent the first couple of years of my life in a hospital, so I think there's some, deeply rooted psychology having to do with that. But medical shows, as a rule, I don't like to watch sick people very much. So, and it tends to fall into melodrama, and that's something I fight against. So, so I think the big challenge here is to elevate as best I can to make it interesting for me in the most acute way, because you can fall into a kind of what do they call these shows? Not periodicals. What are they called?
Procedurals.
Do not fall into that trap, and it is most definitely a trap. So to try to persistently, constantly elevate to the highest degree so that it feels like a real human experience. That's the challenge for anything you do, because anything can fall into traps. You can fall into the trap of Aaron Sorkin and just kind of ride the wave of clever words. That doesn't work for me either. It's always a matter of trying to find the highest point near the ceiling of perfection, and that's an impossible task to get all the way up. But that's what I strive for, and that's a different kind of challenge on this kind of show.
What does elevate the show, and what's sort of that thing that you see?
Well, when you transcend the obvious, when you go deep into a set of circumstances to elevate. I mean, what does it mean to elevate? When you're an athlete, you want to elevate by what? Becoming a better team player, by hitting the open man on a basketball court or on a football field, or making sure that the preparation is such that the best things can happen in performance. So it's the way that I feel engaged is to constantly find a way to make something either more real for me or more interesting for me, or and all of those things lead to it hopefully becoming more elevated, or at least I like to feel like I'm flying when I'm acting, so elevate is a good word for that. I like to feel like I'm building a platform, like a ski platform, and I jump out of the gates and then I'm airborne, and when there are obstacles in the way, whether it's another actor or whether the writing doesn't quite make sense, or director who's only interested in making his day, or whatever the issue is, it'll pull you right out of the air. It creates obstacles to flight. It's engine trouble. So so there's a lot of factors that go into it, and you need a team of people that are on the same page and they all want to fly as long as we can fly. And it's high.
Yeah, probably one of I thought one of my favorite scenes with Glassman this season was when he gave the baseball as the gift. And I know you're a big fan of baseball, Richard, yourself. So he gave that to her because it was something that mattered to him, that he wanted her to have. If you were giving a gift of something that mattered to you, Richard, what would you give to someone?
I mean, look at this. I got nothing but baseball back here. Do you see it?
Yeah.
You can tell.
Yeah.
Where's the I have a Mickey Mantle ball right here.
Yeah.
Somebody gave me that for the very same reason. Somebody gave me a Mickey Mantle ball going, I know this is of value and I treasure it, but I know it means more to you than it does to me. So I'm giving it to you. It was very sweet. I don't know. My most treasured possession if you would have called it a possession, which it isn't, but my wife wouldn't mind, is my wife.
Yeah.
She's not a possession, obviously, but she's my most valued person in my life, and my kids.
Yeah.
I'm not giving them to anybody.
No,
Nobody,
you can't really give them. Yeah.
that's not going to happen. So as
Yeah.
far as objects go, I don't know. I love that scene though, and it was really well written. And then you had Lisa Edelstein to work with. And so that's an example of an actress who is alive and present and willing to go places that we might not have anticipated before we started working. So that's a good example of elevating. But I don't know what I would give away. I just got a new car. I like that. I'm not giving it to anybody. It'd have to depend. If I felt somebody was helpful in saving my life, I would certainly look for something that would mean something to them as a gift. So that was a lovely scene.
Yeah. Yeah. And was it your idea to give the baseball? Was that a suggestion from you?
That was a writer who I've had conflicts with in the past, and who wrote a very, very beautiful scene. And so he must get credit for that. And they know I'm a baseball fan, and we've covered baseball before, although they have me as an Oakland A's fan, talking about Reggie Jackson and Catfish Hunter and Raleigh Fingers and those guys. But they're all players I admired. So I think what happens in television shows is over the years, Aaron Sorkin certainly did this. They find things about the actor that they tend to that tends to inspire ideas, and that's what a good writer does on television, because they're going to run out of ideas otherwise. So they'll kind of mine the person for what is meaningful to them and use it.
When we spoke last, you said that you didn't watch The West Wing at the time because you don't really like watching things you're in. Do you watch The Good Doctor?
No.
No, yeah. Did you? But you had sort of binged. What's that?
I'm sorry, but I have seen scenes because they tweet them, and then they'll tweet a scene between me and Sheila, and I go, "Oh God, I'd like to see Sheila in this." So I suffered through my performance to see her. So I've seen snippets of the show.
Yeah. And with the West Wing, you said you'd watched 2 seasons last time we spoke, and you said it was quite good. Have you finished the West Wing yet?
No, but I've done some West Wing weekly podcasts.
Yeah, I've heard them. Yeah,
Josh, Molina, and Rishi do, and we've done a couple of live events in London and in Dublin.
Yeah,
and so I always have to prepare for those by seeing the show that we're talking about, and then I'll watch that show, and then I'll go, yeah, this is good, and I'll end up watching the next one, and then I'll remember, oh wait, the one before that was interesting, and I'll watch that.
Yeah.
But then I'll stop. But I'm doing 2 more of those, or a podcast about 2 more of those shows, later seasons, which I've never seen anything from season 5, 6, or 7. So I watched the one I directed in season 5, and I'm going to watch the one I directed in season 6, and the one that I acted right before that, which is one of the hardest acting assignments, if you will, that I've ever had, was that episode, which was drought conditions.
Yeah.
So I'll watch those. I've never seen that one. That's going to be painful.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a favorite line from The West Wing from your time on that show that Toby said?
The one that no. For some reason, They'll Like Us When We Win comes to mind, but that comes to mind because I disagreed with it so personally. I did not agree with the line. If you remember, the scene, it was with my ex-wife, who was the congressman, played by Kathleen York, who was just great. And she was objecting to phrases in a speech the president was going to give, having to do with the Arab world and the conflicts there. I hated that point of view, but the line is great. As a Richard, I do not agree that they'll like us when we win. I think we should get out. Politically, I think it's a disaster what we've done over there. I very, very personally disagreed with that. So, but I love the scene because the line is great, and because ultimately he comes around to realize he's a little overboard.
Yeah. Is there something special from your time on the West Wing that you always just go back to and remember with fondness?
Well, whenever I see Martin or Allison, some of us get together. That's always kind of odd, surreal, and great.
Yeah.
But Allison, Janney, and I are, have great adoration and love for each other, and I just love her success, and she's won about 37 awards since The West Wing,
Yeah. Yeah.
including an Oscar, and deserves all of it. And whenever I see Martin, he feels like real family to me, much more so in many ways than my actual family. Not this one, but when I grew up with, and he feels like a brother and a father, and I just absolutely think he's one of the great human beings in the world. And I'm honored to know him so well and to feel part of that family. All the Sheens, Emilio and Charlie, who was troubled but a sweetheart, and Janet and everybody in the family, Raul, they're just lovely, and and then being friends with Josh and Brad, and it was quite, 7 years of intense 80-hour weeks with anyone, and it's a family, dysfunctional at times but highly functional at others, and I spent more time with them, and I counted the hours. I spent more time, waking time, with them than I did with my own family growing up, in actual waking hours. And so they're family. So that's what sticks with me.
Yeah. We're going to get the family back together, Richard. Is it going to be another West Wing reboot?
I doubt it. I got into trouble for talking about it. And
Okay, do. Well,
yeah, it was a deadline kind of extracted some sentences from an interview I did where I was talking about what my idea would be, and misconstrued it to say that we're in talks for a reboot. We're not in talks for a reboot. We talk about it. We always talk about it because we're always asked about it. And on some level, we'd love to see it. On another level, I don't think you can beat what we did. I don't think you can better it. And in many ways, it is the show that people can still go back and look to feel what it's like to have a West Wing that works for the country instead of against it, and for the best interests of most, if not all, people, as opposed to against it. And I don't know if we'd improve upon that.
Yeah. Well, I'll just keep us sporting and not hold my breath for a reboot.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't hold your breath for a reboot. It will become nice. Yeah, you threw it and put it. But if you remember what I did, I would always bounce it. So you have to bounce it to the wall and then catch it.
Like that?
There you go. Perfect.
Okay, there we go, Richard. Giving me Spalding tips. Final question. You going to direct an episode for season 3 of The Good Doctor?
I don't think so. We might maybe talk about it. It's not something that I'm aching to do. But while I'm up there, it might be fun. And so maybe not this year, but next.
Yep. Sounds good. Well, Richard, thanks so much for talking to us, and all the best of luck on the awards circuit. To all of your viewers, go to goldderby.com right now and make your predictions. Yeah. Yes.
By the way, the prediction thing, I looked up your website. They got me at 101. They got me at 101. What is that about?
Yeah, what is that about? Any of your fans and viewers can go to goldderby.com and you can make your predictions to boost up Richard Schiff's standings.
Well, don't make the predictions based on prayers and hope. There's a reason why I'm 100 to 1. There's a lot of great shows out there, and I'm not quite sure that Hollywood attaches itself to network shows anymore. They're more into the cable shows, and understandably. But if they were to watch this, I would hope that they would think my work is worthy.
Yeah, and I think, Richard, too, with that, like, the Gold Derby is reasonably accurate, at least the best place online when you've got those top 5 to 10 contenders. But then, like, if you're not getting predicted in those top 5, it's hard to get the odds above 1 in 100 sort of thing.
I know there's a lot of 1 in 100s. There's a lot of 101s.
Yeah, there's a lot of 101s, and there will probably one or what? Sorry,
which I think is the max. It's not like
yes, yeah.
I'm at the highest.
And especially with the Emmys, there is always maybe 1 or 200 to 1s that like, or 1 in 100s that do sneak in, because the Emmys are a very hard awards to predict. Because they're, as you say, it's so crowded.
It's crowded, and there are some great cable shows that have the luxury of doing subject matters and language that the networks really can't touch. So it's what it is. I think 15 years ago, The Good Doctor would be in many categories, because there wasn't much else around. But that's the way it is, and that's totally cool.
Yeah, and look at how like House did a couple of years ago. Another David Shaw medical procedural.
I think David was the last network writer to win an Emmy.
Very possibly.
I think he said
very possibly. Yeah. So I agree. And you can click on the subscribe button if you want more notifications when we interview other top awards contenders. So yeah, thanks for chatting with us, Richard.
My pleasure, man. Nice to see you.
Yeah, great to see you again.
Okay.
Okay.